This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so in this in today's session, we'll talk about how to create a user in Oracle Fusion Financials and how to assign the required roles for that particular user. So we have discussed in our yesterday's previous session the two major roles that will play a major role in terms of performing all the application related configurations and in terms of performing all the IT administrator related configurations. So we'll quickly create a user and we will add these two roles to our user so that we will make our user eligible to perform any operations within Fusion. So to create a user, let's go to the instance, provide your URL here and just go click on enter, and this is how the login page will appear. Provide your user credentials. For the time being, I'm going to log in with a user called as IBM user, which is an ongoing current user. We will create a new user. Okay, we'll create a new user anyway. I'll show you how to create a new user also. Okay, so this is how your home page, your dashboard will appear in Fusion. Okay, so this is how it will, wish stating good morning so and so particular user and all. And these are all the different items that we can see in a home page. Here, if you notice, we can see all the different applications related to the respective task and all. Okay, we'll discuss about these tasks also, and we can also see how to restrict this task access on our home page and how to make only the required tasks and the required applications within the tasks should be visible within our home page and all also we will see. Okay, so this is how your home page will appear right after you log in. Now the very first step that we are supposed to do after getting a instance is creating a user. So in order to create a user, you have to go to the navigator, which is nothing but this navigator. So on the left side to your vision naming convention, you can see 3 bars. So this is the navigator. Just click on that navigator. So navigator will list down all the possible and all the active tasks within this particular instance for this particular user, whatever the user that we have logged in. So just scroll down a little bit. Here you'll see a section called as tools. This is one of the tasks, so just click on this tools task. Just scroll down a little bit, and here you can see an option called as security console. You can see an option called as security console. I think we have mentioned this one in one of the previous discussions that we had in our previous session, that there will be a role called as security console, or there will be a task called as security console, which will be privileged if you have a role called as IT security manager. Okay, so this is the security console that we were talking about. Okay, come back again. So here there is a task called as security console. Just click on this task of security console. Click on that security console. This is a simple warning message. Simply say okay. We'll discuss about this warning message also. For the time being, just click on OK. So this is the security console page, and here in this page, navigate to users. Just click on this user on the left hand side. You have so many side headings kind of thing. Just click on this user. So here you can search any of the existing users within this instance or within this application. Okay, here instead of searching any of the existing user, we are going to create a new user. So in order to create a new user, here you have a button called as add user accounts. Okay, add user accounts. Just click on this add user accounts. Okay, so just provide the information that is required to create a user account. So here you have your first name and last name, out of which last is mandatory. Just provide your last name. Let us say I'm going to create a user called as Google. I think Google is already existed, or which one do we follow? Dell. Okay, Dell user. Let me provide this with a capital letters. Dell user. Let us say my user is a Dell user, and you can provide your email address, which is optional, or you don't provide your email address, not a problem. Or provide your email address. Dell user at the rate some gmail.com, or this is an optional one only, not a mandatory, but just for the purpose of providing, we are providing. If you notice, based upon the last name, the username has been defaulted. Based upon the last name, whatever that you have provided, username has been defaulted. If you would like to keep the same name as your username, you can keep it. Otherwise, if you would like to edit, just provide your password. Now your basic user creation is done. So see, user creation alone may not be sufficient enough to just log in with that user and perform any operations. In order to start doing any transactions or to start doing any configurations, to perform any activity within the application with that user, a user must and should has some roles. Based upon the limitations of that particular user, or based upon the privileges of that user, we will create and add some roles. So before we create some roles, we will assign the existing roles which is there in the application itself, and later of course we'll talk about how to create a role also and how to assign the privileges for that role also. For the time being, we are going to assign some of the roles for this user, and accordingly these users will have a privilege in application. So in order to assign any role for a user, after creating the user definition, just click on this add role. There is a button called as add role. Just click on this add role. So in our previous class, in our previous session, we have discussed about the significance of these two roles, which is nothing but application implementation consultant and IT security manager. And we also have discussed, with the help of this application implementation consultant, we will have a privilege called as setup and maintenance. So all these setups and maintenance will be performed only under this application implementation consultants only. So this is a kind of centralized configuration role. And likewise, this IT security manager, with the help of this IT security manager, will have a privilege called as, will have an access to security console, and with this security console only we will create users. We discussed about this significance of these two roles. I hope you remember. So the same two roles only I'm going to assign to the current user, whatever that we have created. So the first role is application implementation consultant. Go to the application, and we have already clicked on add role, so that's why this add role membership page has been popped up. Just provide the role name. The role name is application implementation consultant. See, after providing application implementation, you have some roles called as application implementation admin and application implementation consultant, application implementation manager. And out of these three different roles, the highest privileges are there only for application implementation consultant only. Do remember that. The top privileges or the complete privileges, we will say, complete privileges to the setup and maintenance or configuration related activities are there only for application implementation consultant, but not for application implementation admin or for application implementation manager. So that is the reason we are going to take this application implementation consultant only, to get all the sort of privileges that are required for a setups or configuration related stuff. So just select this application implementation consultant, and once you select this one, you have two search options, which is having a code as ASM so and so job, and which is also having a code as ASM application implementation consultant job copy. So if you notice, just by taking a naming convention of this one, this is a copy of this existing role. This is which one is having a suffix of copy and which is also having a suffix in the code of as copy, is a copy of the original job role. Okay, the reason it is populating it as copy, somebody in this instance has already copied this particular job role by providing a different naming convention as copy. We will also discuss in detail why we will copy a job role and what is the significance and what is the need of copying a job role, because for the purpose of customizing the job roles only, we will copy the existing job roles and we will perform the different customizations. There is a simple thing to understand about the copy functionality, but for now we are not going to use any of the copied roles. We are going to use the original job role that is provided by Oracle by default. So this is the original job role. Just click on this job role called as application implementation consultant and click on add role membership. So the moment that you click on this add role membership, the role has been added to your user. Okay, the role has been added to your user. Now let us add the other role, which is called as IT security manager. So these are the two mandatory roles that you should provide to your user in order to privilege him with all the sort of accesses and with all the sort of privileges that one can do within an application. As simple as that. That is the reason. So this is as simple as a system administrator role or system administrator responsibility if you compare with EBS. So just provide the same thing, IT security manager. Go back to the application. You don't have to close this one and come back to the same page. Just be in the same page and just click on this search and delete the existing search, and now search with your new role called as IT security manager. Just provide IT security. Here system has populated IT security manager with different things. The reason you have different things is one is copied thing and another one is, if you notice, even with the same naming convention of IT security manager, we have a different codes. The code which is starting with FND and the code which is starting with ORA. Both are seeded roles only. Both are seeded or standard Oracle provided roles only. But the only difference is, with the help of this FND IT security, or with the help of this job roles which are starting with FND, or let me tell you this, with the help of these job roles which are starting with ORA, because we'll find these job roles which are starting with the code of ORA, you cannot perform much sort of role customizations or much sort of role personalizations, which is nothing but customizing your role and all is bit limited in this particular code. The role which is starting with the code as ORA, whereas the role which is starting with other than the code of ORA, you can perform all the sort of customizations of the role. That is the reason I'm selecting the other one and I'm not selecting the ORA one. Do remember that. So likewise, in this particular IT security manager role also, even though which is starting with the same code, there is a copy because somebody has copied this particular role in order to personalize their roles and all. So just select the first one, the seeded one, click on this one and click on add role membership. Click on add role membership and say done. This is it. These are the two roles that we would like to assign or privilege to our user in order to perform any sort of thing within our application. So this is how you can create a user and this is how you can assign a existing role, assign the roles to your user. Any doubts on this regards, please? Any doubts on this regards, please? Any doubts on this regards, please? So I'm going to click on this save and close so that the user creation and the user assignment, the role assignment for the users is going to be saved, and we are going to go back to the previous page. Any doubts on this regards, please, before we save it? Okay, I'll take that as no, and I'm going to quickly save on the users, whatever that we have created, save and close. So this is how you can create n number of users if you have the IT security manager privilege, IT security manager role. Okay, the reason that even we are currently with the user called as IBM. The reason that IBM is also able to create users within his within his privileges is this IBM user is already having a role called as IT security manager. That is the reason this IBM user is eligible to create some more users and assign the roles to users. as simple as that. So now we have created a user called as, what is our username? Del user. So we have created a user called as Del user, and we have assigned these two roles to our user. Now with the help of our Del user also, we should be able to create the users newly, and we should be able to perform all the sort of setup setups within our application, which is nothing but this ASM, this setups functional setup manager privilege we should have with the help of this role, whatever that we have assigned right now for our user. So in order to see whether our user has been privileged with the given roles or not, let us log off from the existing user and log in with the new user that we have created. Simply say sign up, confirm, log in back with your new user. What is the new user that we have created? Del user. Provide your password and say enter. Okay, so our Del user creation is successful and our user is successfully created. Now let us see whether the roles whatever that we have assigned are successfully added or not. In order to validate that one, as we discussed earlier, if you have this role of application implementation consultant, you will have an access to FSM, functional setup manager, which is nothing but a setup and maintenance area. So to check that one, to validate that one, just go to the application. To validate whether your user has got the privileges of application implementation consultant role, just click on this username. You have this username here, right? Just click on this username. So if you click on this username, there is a pop-up, and here you can see different activities, different tasks within this task list. Okay, out of this one, here you have a section called as administration. Under this administration, there is a task called as setup and maintenance. Do remember that there is a task called as setup and maintenance. So this setup and maintenance task will be privileged to a user only if the user is assigned with application implementation consultant. Setup and maintenance, something like that. Okay, don't mind if there is a spelling mistake and all. Okay, the only thing is this setup and maintenance task will be privileged, will be accessible to a user only because if a user is assigned with the role called as application implementation consultant. Yeah, 1 second please, just give me. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, so that is the point you have to remember. If you can see setup and maintenance task under your username, okay, which is nothing but you have the privilege of application implementation consultant, then only you will be able to see this particular task called as setup and maintenance. Okay, we will see in detail about this setup and maintenance, and we will also perform different setups and different configurations using this setup and maintenance navigation or task only. Okay, but this is how you can validate, you can check whether your user is having a application implementation consultant role or not. Okay, now let us go back to the home page and let us validate whether the user is privileged with IT security manager or not. We have added the one more role called as IT security manager, right? And we also have discussed with the help of this IT security manager, we will have a privilege of security console, which is nothing but if you have a privilege of security console, in other words, you are having the access of, you are having the assignment of IT security manager role. So let us validate the same thing. To validate this one, just click on this navigator. We have seen what is a navigator. Just click on these 3 lines or 3 bars. Just scroll down on the same page. Here you have a tools section. Just click on the tools section. And here you can see there's a task called as security console. Here you can see a task called as security console. So just click on this security console. So if you are having an access to this particular task called as security console, it is nothing but you are having a role assignment of IT security manager. Unless or until the user is having a role assignment of IT security manager, you will not see that security console one. So just click on users just to be on the safe side. So here you can create the user, just like we have created our own Dell user. You can create some more users also using this navigation. Okay, so this is how you can add and you can validate the same thing in application. Any doubts on this regards, please? Any doubts in regards to the user creation and use roles assignment to the user? This is a very basic one. This is a very generic one for that. In fact, if you have any doubts, we'll discuss. Otherwise, we'll jump on to the other topics. Okay, I'll take that as no, and we'll jump on to the other topics in today's discussion. See, right now we are done with creating users and assigning the roles roles to the users. Otherwise, with the help of this Dell user also, we will create one user and we will assign the roles so that it will be clear for us that the user is successfully able to create the roles and assign the create the users and assign the roles within this user. So go back to the same navigation, click on the security console. So this is where we will come to in order to create the users and assign the roles to the users. So just click on the users tab. Here there is a button called as add user account. Same definition, whatever that we have seen earlier, same definition you will have with this user also, just to make sure that this Dell user also is successfully able to create the users or not. Only we are going to perform this simple test. Let us create one simple user stating a last name as maybe a test user also you can provide, or maybe Dell Tata. Can provide user email address. You don't provide user email address, that is not a mandatory one. Username, system has defaulted with your last name. You can keep the same thing or you can edit the same thing. Password, you can set your password. So this is basically a IT administrator role. That is the reason. So whenever we step into an organization, our user record will be created right within HRMS profile. So this is a such kind of activity. Let's click on add role. We are going to add some roles to this particular Tata user. Let us say we would like to use this Tata user as an end user, and we don't want him to create any users, which is nothing but we are going to restrict this user from user creation. So what we can do is we don't have to assign this IT security manager role, but I'm going to use this Tata user for all the configuration and setup activities. So you can assign only this one, which is nothing but application implementation user consultant. So let me assign only this application implementation consultant. Application implementation consultant. Just click on this one. ASM, click on add role membership. Now I would like to use this user only for setup related activities or configuration related activities, and I don't want to privilege this user with any user creation, which is nothing but I don't want this Tata user to create any more users. Okay, now so what we can do, we don't have to assign that IT security manager for this user. Simply say save and close, because this user is only going to perform the setup and configuration related stuff. So just go to your home page, and now let us log off from our user and log in with this Tata user, and we will see whether that user is able to create users or not, or whether that user is able to perform the setup and maintenance or not. Confirm. Log back with Tata user. This is just to show you, if you don't assign the IT security manager, you will not have a privilege to access the security console, so that you cannot create the users. As simple as that. So for this Tata user, we have assigned one role called as application implementation consultant. So with this help of role, you should be able to perform all the sort of setups. So let us see if the Tata user is able to perform all the sort of setups or not. See, here you have a task called as setup and maintenance, which is nothing but unless and until you have a application implementation consultant role, you will not have this setup and maintenance task. So which is nothing but this Tata user is having the privilege of application implementation consultant, as simple as that. So this is fine. Let us validate about the IT security manager. Click on this navigator. Just scroll down and click on the tools and see if the security console is available or not. See, check here. Security console is not available. This is sales and services access management, but security console is not available. So unless and until you have a security console, you cannot create users. That is where you will create the users. As simple as that. So you don't want this particular user to create any new users. That is the reason you have not provided him an access to security console. Now this user cannot create new users, but this user can perform all the sort of setups and configurations within the applications. So that is why we have assigned him the respective roles. So this is how it will be in real time also. As per the roles, as per the activities, or as per the designations that the user is having, we will assign the roles, and accordingly only those users will have a privilege of accessing the respective tasks. This is just a simple one, nothing more than that. We will see in detail about different AP and AR roles also. Just click on your home and just log off with this user. Log in with your previous Dell user. So we'll use this Dell user only for our practice, for our further activities, testing and all. We'll use this Dell user to remember. Go to the application and log in with the Dell user. So this is what when you talk about user creation and assigning the roles to users. So just like we have created our own user, we can also create our own roles. We will see in our further session how to create our own roles and assign to our own users. Okay, so this is what when you talk about roles creation and assigning the user creation and assigning the roles to the user. Now let us talk about this enterprise structure, and let us start with enterprise within this enterprise structure. So in order to complete your enterprise structure, you have to perform all these activities, which is nothing but creation of enterprise and creation of primary, ledger, legal entity, followed by business unit and inventory organization. All these things you have to perform. So to start with, in our enterprise structure, now we are going to jump onto our enterprise structure and perform the related and respective configurations within our enterprise structure. To start with, we are going to start with the enterprises, which is nothing but creation of enterprises. Okay. So in our previous discussion, we have discussed and we have come across a point called as within any instance of Oracle Fusion, you cannot create multiple enterprises. You can only create only one enterprise, or only one enterprise is allowed to be within an instance, which is nothing but there is a possibility to create only one enterprise within an entire instance, not our entire login, or not our entire user. So within our entire instance, there is a possibility of creating only one enterprise, and by default system will have a enterprise definition in a scratch or in a demo instance also. So when you take a license or when you take a subscription to an instance from Oracle, so they will provide instances, right? So within that instance also you will have one default enterprise definition, but the possibility is you can edit the name of that enterprise, but you cannot create any new enterprises within the instance. Do remember that one. That is the reason we discussed, when you are discussing about this enterprise structure, we discussed about legislative data groups also, in order to cater the HCM related requirements. There is a concept called as legislative data groups, because we have a limitation of having only one enterprise within our Fusion instances. Okay, but now within the same enterprise itself, we'll see how to edit the name. We'll see the enterprise definition first, and we'll see how to edit the enterprise name and all. Just go back to the application. Just go back to the application. So to check the enterprise name and all, just you have to search that particular task. In order to search a task, just go to this setup and maintenance. You cannot search it from this open search criteria. Just go to your setup and maintenance. Let's go to your setup and maintenance. Here, from here, this search task also you can search. Otherwise, just click on this task list. Here on the right hand side, you have a small pop-up called as task. Okay, just click on the task. A task list will appear. A task list will appear if you click on this button, a task button. Okay, do remember on the right hand side it will be there under your setup and maintenance. So just click on this task list. This is called as task list, where we will have multiple tasks. And here also you have a search button. Here also you have a search button. Just click on this search button. Just click on this search button, and here you can search different related activity related tasks. So now we are discussing about enterprise definition. So in order to understand, in order to see what is an enterprise and what all the details will be there in an enterprise and how to edit that enterprise definition information and all, you have to perform a search of the task. You have to go to the respective task. So to go to the respective task, you can just search it from here. So instead of taking different navigations, we can go to this particular task search. I will also show you how to take in navigations also. For the time being, let us take this one, enterprise. Just provide your enterprise and just click on search. Here you have multiple search results, and out of all these search results, otherwise enterprise structure. Let us search with enterprise structure. Okay, just scroll down a little bit. There will be a task called as define enterprise structure for financials. Define enterprise structure for financials. Here it is. So here we have a task called as define enterprise structure for financials. Just take this task. Through this task, we can navigate to enterprise definition. We can navigate to enterprise definition. So here we have multiple activities called as managing geographies or running the geography ledger and all. Out of this, just search for the task called as related to enterprises. Search for the task related to enterprises. Just scroll up. Should be there in the beginning itself. Okay, here it is. Establish enterprise structure. Just click on this, establish enterprise structure. Just wait a minute. Just click on this name. By default, only one name is there. Vision Corporation, MNA. Yeah. See, by default, system has named it as enterprise name as Vision Corporation, and the short name is Vision only. Now you have a privilege to, we can just edit this name. Edit this name to, let us say, Dell Enterprise or Dell Corporation, something like that. You can just keep it. Okay. Just provide your short name also as Dell Corp, something like that. Okay. Primary industries information. Just keep the definition as it is. You can just save it. You can just save and close. Save and close. Okay. So this is how you can just check the existing enterprise definition. We are not going to create any new enterprise. Do you remember? We are just going to check the existing enterprise definition. Okay, from the system point of view, this enterprise is going to stand on top of all the other activities in our enterprise structure. That is the reason we are just going to verify the enterprise definition, and we are going to just rename the enterprise to our own enterprise name, something like that. Okay, so this is the significance of enterprise. We will talk about this legislative data group, which is nothing but the creation of legislative data group, and using this legislative data group at the time of legal integration and all. We will talk in our coming session. But before that, let us talk about what is an offering and what is an option. Okay, here we discussed in our previous session, we have to enable the offerings and options within our enterprise, which is nothing but based on the licenses or based on the subscriptions, whatever that you have taken from Oracle corporations, the same thing that you have to enable by yourself. Oracle will not enable it for you. Oracle will Oracle will provide you an access to perform or access all the different sort of applications also. Even though the applications which you have not taken license also, you will be able to access from the instance. Okay, let us say for example, you have taken a license only for financial modules, which is nothing but AP, AR, GL, FA and all. Let's say that you have provided you have taken a subscription or license only for these financials modules. What Oracle will do is, when they are deploying you the instance, by default this instance will provide this particular instance will have an access to all the other applications also, which is nothing but SCM modules such as order management, purchasing, or inventory, bills of material, BOM, WIP, work in progress, all the other supply chain management modules also by default system will have. Likewise, some default HRMS applications will be there. Let me write here HRMS applications, which is nothing but user entry creation, or performing the payrolls, all the HRMS related activities also by default a instance will have. But the point is, as you have taken the license only for these financials modules, AP, AR, GL, FA, cash management. So as you have taken a license only for these modules, it is not that system will let you access only these module information. As far as the system is concerned, or instance is concerned, instance will let you access these modules also. You can create an order, you can create a purchase order, you can create a sales order, you can perform the inventory related setups, you can perform the BOM and WIP related setups also within this instance. But the only point is, if you face any issue in these applications or in these modules, Oracle will not support you just because you have not taken the subscription for these modules. You can take the subscription only for financial modules. So if you face any issues in the future with respect to the application, you can raise an SR only pertaining to these modules only. Then only you will get a proper support from the Oracle. If you raise an SR related to these applications also, they will simply deny it, stating that you have not taken a subscription for these modules. As simple as that. As far as the application or system is concerned, when you take an instance, when you take an application from Oracle, by default that application will have a possibility to perform all these sort of things in different modules also. You can do in project portfolio management also, which is nothing but PPM or customer relationship management. Any other modules also you can access. You can access the respective modules within this particular application. But the only point is, Oracle will not provide you support for the other modules or for the other applications other than the application what you have taken a license to. That is the point that you have to remember. So that is the reason we have to enable some offerings and enable the options within that offering. And before enabling an offering and option, let's try to understand what is an offering and what is an option. Just scroll down a little bit to discuss more on this regards, or let me scroll towards your right. So here we have seen, when you talk about financial modules, we'll have different applications or different modules such as AP, AR and all these things. So to understand offerings and option stuff, just take a basic example: offering, option. Okay. So when you're talking about offerings is nothing but the product families. Offerings is nothing but the product families. Such as this financial modules. Financials is a product family. Within this financials, we are going to have multiple products or multiple applications such as account payables, account receivables, general ledger, something like that. Likewise, Just like we have financials, we also have a product family called as supply chain management. Supply chain family or supply chain management family, you can call it as, which is simply called as SCM in a short form. So under this supply chain management family, we have different applications, or we have different members as order management, purchasing, inventory, bills of material, work in progress, and other further things also we will have under this supply chain management. But the point is, these are all product families, and under these families only we will have applications or we will have products. Likewise, we have another product family such as HRMS, human resource management solutions, or which is also called as HCM, human capital management. As far as fusion is concerned, this is called as human capital management only, but in EBS and all, the naming convention used to be as human resource management solution, something like that. Okay, but the point is, these are all product families, and under these product families we will have multiple applications such as payroll, training, something like that. Likewise, we have another product family called as PPM, which is nothing but project portfolio management, and another product family such as customer relationship management. So these are all different product families, and the point is, in offerings, at offering level we will have only product families such as financial, supply chain management modules, such as procurement is a product family, and sales is a product family, something like that. And under this product, our product families, we will actually have applications. So at options level we will select the applications, which is nothing but, at options level we will have applications such as account payables, account receivables, okay, GL, nothing but general ledger, FA, nothing but fixed assets, and cash management, CM, nothing but cash management. Likewise, you will have options under this offerings. The point is, when you talk about offerings, in offerings you'll be able to have only product families such as financials, supply chain management modules such as procurement and all only. Whereas under financials we will have applications, and all these applications will be there under options within the applications. So whenever you are going to enable offerings and options, do remember that at offerings level we will enable the product families, and at options level under the product families we'll have products such as account payables and all, we will enable these things. Now we will see this one in application. So in order to check this one in applications, just go to the application, just go to the application and click on done. Okay, we have seen how to create a enterprise. Now we are going to establish the offerings and options for this particular instance. Okay, just click on, go to home page, not a problem. Okay, just come back to the same navigator, just click on this user and click on setup and maintenance. Okay, just click on this setup and maintenance. Okay, either you can go to this one, otherwise just go to your navigator. In either ways we can land onto the same page, and just scroll down. Here you have something called as my enterprise. Okay, you have something called as my enterprise. Just right about the tools, we have a section called as my enterprise. You can go to my enterprise as well. Both the things will take you to the same definition. Here you have a option called as a task called as enterprise. Just click on this enterprise tasks. Just click on this enterprise task. Oh, sorry, this is showing us the enterprise definition. 1 second. Just go back to the previous navigator. Click on, go to My Enterprise. Okay, just click on Offerings. Here you have a option called as Offering. This is the enterprise definition. Okay, this is the enterprise definition, whatever that we have. We have already seen how to rename our enterprise by taking the navigation, and we have searched a task also called as enterprise, starting from enterprise structure. Okay, instead of that, now we are going to talk about offerings. So in order to enable the offerings and all within your enterprise, just take this navigation. Simple, we have just clicked on this navigator and we have just scrolled down. Here we have a task list called as My Enterprise. Just click on that My Enterprise, and under this My Enterprise we have a task called as Offerings. Just click on this Offerings. This is what we are talking about. We're talking about offerings and options. Okay, go to the application. Yes, so this is how it will appear. Point is, as this is a vision instance, and somebody has already accessed this vision instance multiple times, so by default all the financial related offerings and options would have been already enabled just because this is a vision instance. But when you are purchasing a new instance, or when you are taking a license and when Oracle is providing you an instance, in that particular client instance, you will not have this enabled. I'll just show you how to enable an offering from here. But do remember, being this is a vision instance, this is already would have been enabled because somebody else would have already accessed this particular instance definition before us. As simple as, just because this is a practice instance, nothing more than that. So first of all, let's assume that we have taken a license for financials. So we have to enable the financial related offerings. So to enable the financial related offerings, just come to this offerings page. We have seen what is the navigation and all, and here in this navigation page you have a option called as financials. You have an offering called as financials. Just click on this financials. Just click on this financials. On the right hand side, you can see some definitions stating that new features and opt-in features. And besides these features, you can see the status called as enabled. Besides these features, you can see the status called as enabled. By default, when you are purchasing a new instance from Oracle, it will not be enabled. It will be disabled only. You have to enable this one by clicking on enable. Okay, you have to enable this one. Just because this is a vision instance and this is a practice instance, somebody has already enabled this one. That is the reason we are being able to see this as enabled, nothing more than that. Okay, do remember that you have to enable this one by taking the same navigation in a fresh instance at your client location. If you are going to take a license and if you are going to enable the offerings and options, nothing more than that. Likewise, we have an offering for different product families also, which is nothing but PPM. Okay, product portfolio management. Okay, the status is enabled for this particular PPM also. And likewise, we'll have offerings such as order management. This has also been enabled. You can see multiple other modules also, such as procurement. See, here you have procurement, and here you have Fusion Accounting Hub, which is used for the purpose of accounting centralizations and reportings and all. Okay, so this is how you'll have multiple offerings within this. Just do remember that you have to come here and enable the offering based upon the subscription, whatever that you have taken. Just go back to our financials. Just click on this related documents. So if you would like to read about the standard functionalities and standard configurations for financials, so just click on this related documents and you have different documents available and different formats. Just if you would like to refer or review these documents, you can review these things by clicking on any of these documents in a desired format, and you can see what are all the task list that is required, related business objects and all. This is just for information purpose, nothing more than that. But the point is, this is how you can enable the offerings and options. But this is an offering only. In order to see about the options, just click on this particular offering of financials and click on opt-in features. Just click on opt-in features. You'll come to know the options within this offering. Just click on this opt-in features. System is trying to take us to that particular page. Just wait for a moment. Okay. So here you can see by default most of the things are enabled because this is a vision instance. just because it's a vision instance, somebody has already enabled it. Otherwise, when you're taking a fresh instance, this will not be enabled. You have to enable them manually one by one. So this financial and general ledger is already been enabled. Supplier invoicing and processing, invoice and processing, which is nothing but your account payables. So this suppliers, payables, payments to your suppliers, interfacing your payment and invoice information to the cash management, everything will be there under your supplier invoicing and processing tab. Just verify all these things. Make sure that all your respective financial module related applications are enabled. These are called as options. See, that's why you have a feature called as opt-in features, offerings and options. These are all options. Just scroll down. Expenses, which is nothing but your expense report, invoices and all. Fixed assets, to deal with the assets within an organization. Customer invoice and processing, which is nothing but your AR invoices, your receivable invoices. So under this one we have receivables, your cash management, which is nothing but to interface the same information. Items, collectors under your receivables and all. You'll have, just scroll down, your revenue management, intercompany, all your financial related application, all your financial application related modules or applications and all will be there within these options. So you have to make sure that everything is enabled. If it is not enabled, you have to enable it manually. Do remember that. Or if you don't want to have any specific option and all, you can simply disable it also. See further here, financial business intelligence analysis. This is used for reports. Financial business intelligence analysis is used for reports. Let us assume that you're not going to use Oracle applications, Oracle Fusion Financials solutions for reports. You have your separate reports, tools and all. Maybe some third-party report tools such as SAP, BI, or any other BI tools and all. So in such case, you don't have to enable this one. Simply disable this, which is nothing but you are going to use any third-party applications for your reports. So it will be disabled. And all the subtasks within this particular task list also will be disabled. Or if you would like to use this one, you can simply enable this. Not a problem. Anything could be fine. Or let us say for the time being you have not taken a subscription separately for this report. By default reports will be there. Or let us say for the time being you are not enabled this one and continued further. Later some point of time, maybe after using this application for a year or two, you have realized that okay, Oracle business intelligence BI reports also are providing the best reports, so we would like to use this offering within our financials, Fusion Financials. What you can do is you can simply come back to the same page and you can enable this particular option under financial offering. As simple as that. So this is how you can enable your offerings and option within a instance. Being this is a demo instance, practice instance, this has already been enabled. Otherwise this would have been empty, and we have to enable this one by default. Okay, here you can see the built-in features also. For example, if you would like to see the features of payables, just click on this features option, edit the features option, edit button. So whatever the activities that will be there under payables, system will list down. Whatever the activities that will be there under the payables, system will list down, which is nothing but one-time payment, early payment, everything is related to payables. Match in full, when you're matching your invoice with the purchase order or the receipt, all those detailed activities also will be there under the features. So this is how you can set the features also within your options. So these are all the different features that we will access with the help of this particular account payables option. Okay, so I don't want to edit anything. I just would like to keep the things as they are. Simply say done. Simply say done. Okay, you don't have to change it and all. This view history button will let you understand who all have edited this particular information previously. Nothing more than that. Scroll up and keep the options as they are. Of course, by default, everything has been enabled. If anything is not enabled, you have to enable manually. Do remember that. Simply say done. Likewise, you can check the offerings and options for other applications also, such as, let us say, procurement. Let us talk about procurement and click on opt-in features. Here you can see what are all the different options available under your procurement family. Okay. See here, just scroll up, you can see the different procurement related activities, such as procurement, creation of suppliers, or managing the suppliers, managing the items, purchasing related information, which is nothing but self-services procurement, procurement, and receiving, and creation managing the suppliers under this supplier invoice processing. The same button we have for financials also. We have seen this one. Scroll down. Supplier portal, sourcing, supplier qualifications, and procurement related contracts. All the procurement and supplier related information we will manage under procurement option. So this is how we can go back to the respective offering, and you can just enable the offerings and options within that particular offering. As simple as that. So as everything is already been enabled, just verify the things and simply say done. Likewise, you can check for the other offerings also, such as order management and marketing and all. So this is what when you talk about offerings and options. So by default, it is enabled at your enterprise level. You don't have to enable them manually, because this is a vision instance and already someone would have already enabled that. So this is what when you're talking about offerings. Okay, we'll stop our session for today, as the time is already 10:14. It's crossed 10. If you have any doubts, we can discuss. So any doubts on today's session, please, especially when it comes to creation of users and assigning the roles to the users and enabling the offerings and options within your enterprise. Any doubts on this regards, please? Any doubts regarding the session that we have discussed today, please? Any doubts to anyone, please?
Yeah, no doubts, Venkat.
Okay, thank you. If anybody else is having any other doubts, we can discuss. Otherwise, we are good to close the session for today. Okay then, so that is what for today, and we will discuss about the further concepts in our enterprise structure. We will talk about how to create a implementation project and the significance of implementation project, and how to create the setups within our implementation projects, so that system will track all those setups at the time of creating the configuration packages and all. We'll talk about implementation projects and further concepts in your enterprise structure tomorrow. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you very much for joining. Have a good day. We'll catch up tomorrow. Thanks.
Thank you.